Hello everyone, and welcome to another J. Robinson Art painting project. We're going to be doing a paint and peel that is so fun, so easy. It's going to represent the Statue of Liberty for the 4th of July. But before we get started, let's just go over our equipment, make sure that we have everything that we need. And of course, you can add and subtract whatever pieces or equipment that you would like. Off to my right here, I have a cup of water. Our colors for today are going to be blue, white, yellow, red, and black. With the J. Robinson Art Peiloff painting packet, you get everything that you need to create the painting. You get your tubes of paint, and as you can see, I've laid them out, but you don't have to squeeze out the entire tube. You can save some for later, future projects, or if you need more as you're painting, you could always squeeze it out. We give you a half a palette sheet that you can place the paint on. But please feel free to use a real palette or styrofoam plate or anything that you feel comfortable with. We provide you with a plastic apron to protect your clothes. We give you brushes so that you'll be able to have everything that you need to paint. We have a flat brush, a script liner brush. In some cases, you'll get a foam brush, and you get a plastic spatula to help remove the peel. We also give you one paper towel, but you want to make sure that you have at least a couple more around you, just in case. When we paint, it doesn't get messy, it's not crazy, but things happen, and it is paint, and you want to be careful. So with that being said, why don't we take a look at our project for today. Here we have our very simple, very easy, yet illustrious Statue of Liberty standing amongst fireworks. I'm going to first start with the background. Then we're going to proceed to put in some of that color, like a layer of color that's going to represent the color that we're putting on. And you'll see the technique that we're going to use. It's a lot of fun and it's really, really simple. We provide you with an 8x10 canvas panel. The peel is already affixed. This one happens to be really, really bright because I'm going to be layering it with some blue, and I don't want you to lose sight of where things are. But we're not going to worry about that because with a paint and peel project, it's simply there to act as a blocking agent for you so that you don't have to concern yourself with the actual figure. You just concentrate on the things behind it. I'm going to be using some of my own little beat up brushes. I like these brushes. They're not very fancy. They're not very expensive, but they're good for me, and they help me to whisk through these projects so that we don't spend a lot of time on these videos, because I like to keep them relatively short, because the information that I'm giving you and the techniques that I'm showing you are much more important than anything else. So again, let's get started. I'm going to take my flat brush. I'm going to go right into some blue, and it's not going to be a lot, but I'm going to paint the entire background. And yes, I'm going to make sure I paint over the peel. Now, the reason that I say it's not a lot, people have a tendency to think that in order to make the painting darker, you need like globs of paint. Well, that's not necessarily true. Unless you're painting in heavy impasto, you don't want to have a whole lot of paint when you're doing a project, especially like this. What you want to be able to do is allow certain areas of the painting to dry so that you can either layer stuff on top of it or remove your peel without damaging what's underneath. In this case, our silhouette is black, so it doesn't really matter. And that's why we gave a little black with the project, in case you need to do a little bit of touch-ups, which you probably won't. But at the same time, you don't want to have lavish amounts of paint because it'll take much too long for some of that stuff to dry. And some of us can get a little impatient, and then we'll just jump right in there, and before you know it, we've got a hot mess. So in order to avoid that, just learn to be lean with your layers so that in between the sessions, the painting can kind of set up. That's what I call it. It's really drying, and then we can proceed on with the next phase. None of this takes long. As you can see, I'm almost done. And because it's very dark, it seems to sink right into itself. So don't concern yourself with that. You just try to layer it and make sure you try to cover as much as possible. There, I'm just going to slightly wipe the brush off. And now I'm going to go over my own work to lift some of that paint off. Over here, I just need more paint. There. That's good enough. Now, what we're going to be doing next It's going to seem a little unusual. But a lot of the steps in painting don't make sense until the very, very end. It's a process. It's like baking a cake. You don't just take the powdered mix, put it in a bowl, pour in your liquid ingredients, stir it, and boom, you got a cake. You got to go through the process, go through the steps, and as you go through them all, you'll eventually end up with a finished product. No two finished products are probably going to be the same, but then that's a very good thing. You want to be able to know what you're doing, but you don't have to really stick to a plan. I know that kind of doesn't make sense, but you want to have fun. You just want to push around a few colors, be creative, and just have fun. If you try to be a stickler to details for every little thing, every time, or try to mimic exactly what your neighbor's doing or what you're doing or what you saw someone else do, you tend to lose sight of the freedom that art has to offer you. So you want to be able to kind of venture out on your own. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a very small amount of white. You could always add more color, but color is hard to take away. What I want to do now is create a little ambiance, especially around the statue itself, kind of like a misty fog, if you will, like we're looking up from the ground at the statue. So I'm going to take some of this white and I'm just going to scrub it very vigorously around the statue till I create kind of a haze look. See, I just want to kind of mix the color into the blue that I put down just to give like a little radiation, a little bit of a mystical feeling that's all around the statue. And I'll show you what you do if you should add too much or if you're not adding enough. Just follow along, listen to the words that I'm saying, try to not get so caught up and just try to be free, see? Because you could always take a little blue back and soften up what you think you've made a mistake in, which you probably haven't. It's just probably going to have a very nice, unique look to it, and you should let that happen. Now again, my focus, my emphasis right now is all around the statue. I want whatever's happening to be here more than anywhere else. Now you can go elsewhere, but this is where I really want the mist, fog, or this brightness to reflect and show up, because I want the statue to pop out when I peel it. So I'm making sure that I paint all around it. I'm taking my time, making sure that I get close to the edges, painting directly over the peel, around the arm, in the air. And then I'm going to soften it up. See how I'm not using any water or any more paint. I'm just kind of taking it and softening it up a little bit. Just pushing the color to its end so that you really can't tell where one color stops and the next color starts. Now I'm just going to brush around a little ambiance around here. That looks very bright there. That's not too bad though. That's not too bad. I like it. I like it. It's good enough. There. Now with that being said, my coloration is basically the way that I want it. I have a glow. I have a mist of a whitish color value that's emanating around my statue, and that's sufficient for me. Told you this painting was easy. I'm not even going to clean off the brush. Yes, I am. I'm going to clean it off because I'm going to use a different brush. I apologize. I was going to show you how to use this brush for this next technique, but it's the same process no matter what. Now what I want to do is I want to put some stars in the sky. After I put the stars in the sky, we're going to do the fireworks, or the look of fireworks, and our painting is complete. And that's just how quick, fun, and easy a peel-off painting project can be. No hustle, no bustle, no fuss, no mess. I'm tapping into a little bit of water, and I'm tapping into a little bit of white. So I want the water to make the white a little juicy. I'm taking this brush, I'm going to flip it with my finger. Look at that. Stars just pop off that brush. This is where I would usually sing, but, you know, I can't help myself sometimes. There's some stars out tonight. I don't know if it's sunny or bright, but I only have eyes for you, Statue of Liberty. Okay, here we go. Look at that. Just that quick, I have thousands and thousands upon thousands of stars, like just radiating everywhere, just from those simple little flicks. It's the flicking up with your finger, the moisture on the brush, and the angle that you're using it, and you get stars everywhere. Now we're going to switch brushes again. This little dinky brush, I call it. We're still going to use some white. Now this is where I lose a lot of people, because a lot of people want to know, well, if the canvas is blue and or black, how are we going to get yellow and all of that to stand up on it? Well, that's easy. What you're going to do is take a little white first and create like a starburst. So here, I'm going to take it, I'm going to draw, I'm just going to show you a starburst. Here's a line. Here's a line I just made like an X. You know how when you were a kid you made snowflake stars? Well, that's a good start, because that's the basic shape we want. But we want to fill it. So you just want to make the edges jagged. I only showed you that to show you the basic shape that you should be doing this type of motion to. You see, I'm just fanning it out and I'm letting it just go where it is. That's going to be a starburst. So let's do another one. I'm going to show you the same way I showed you this one. I'm going to make a line. I'm going to make like a T or an X. I'm going to go in between that. I'm going to go in between that. And I'm just going to fan that out. See? By fanning it out, it connects to all of those lines that I made, gives me that shape that I want, which is the starburst of my fireworks for the 4th of July, like Macy's Day Parade on canvas. Didn't know you could be so creative, did you? So now we have 2. We're only going to make 4. You can make 5, you can make 6, you can make 10, you can make 12. For the purposes of this painting, we're just going to make 4. You can make them as large as you want, as small as you want, but try not to make them like too tiny if you plan on using a small amount, like 3 or 4. If you plan on making like 8 or 9, then yeah, go a little small. Make some big, some small. This way you can have it look like some of the fireworks are far away, close up, you know. Be creative. There, see? There's burst number 3. And now we're going to take and go right down here. And I call this area, I'm just going to teach you something. You see this area where there is no design or no paint or no color? That's negative space. And you want to try and put certain things in negative space so that our eyes as humans don't focus there. Because the funny thing about painting, it's like an illusion, but there are little tricks that you have to know so that you don't end up with a painting that has people looking at stuff that you don't really think is that important. So by blocking in the negative space, keeping the shapes odd, and not making them very linear, like lining up the starburst like a 4 block or square, it helps the eye go around the painting more comfortably and not really get fixated on any one thing. And not that that would be a major problem, but you want the person to take in the art for the feeling. Unless you're painting something very specific that you just want them to focus on that, then that's different. But we want them to focus on the sky, the Statue of Liberty, the stars. So we don't want to make any one thing so prominent, like leaving open negative space that the eye skips over and starts adding and subtracting to itself. So that's the reason you fill it up like that. Now at this point, your starbursts are done. If you let these dry, you can put any color you want on top of this and you won't get a color mixture. So your reds that we're about to put won't turn purple because red and blue make purple. Or the yellow won't turn green because yellow and blue makes green. So you basically have set it up now where if you leave this to dry, you'll be able to come in and add those starburst colors on top of this white, which is sitting on top of this blue and black, and you won't have a color mixture. And that's really important for you. And the only reason that I'm talking more is I'm showing you how I'm letting it set up and dry while we're painting. because acrylic paint dries very quickly. So if you give it a little time, you can do wonders on top of it. It's called layering or glazing. You want to be able to add color on top of color that's not necessarily the color that you lay down first, so that you can get different colors into your painting. So while we wait, I'm going to take a little bit of white, just a tiny, tiny, tiny little bit. And you see the torch of our Statue of Liberty? I want to put a glow around that. A glow that's going to remain white because it's like the light of her torch in the midst of the fireworks kind of lit up. And I'm going to do it the same way. I'm just going to draw like a little T. And I'm only showing you that so that you don't get frustrated. And you really want to just add some color and leave the little lines like rays just kind of going out from it. So you don't want to cover those up and make them too fat. See, that little starburst around her torch, when we peel it, is going to give it its own glow. All right, with that being said, I believe that we're set up. I believe that we're ready to rock and roll. So why don't we go ahead and put some color on top. The first color I'm going to start with is red. The next one I'm going to do is blue. And the last one I'm going to put on is yellow. And that's just to ensure that those colors have dried sufficiently. So here we're going to pick up a little bit of red. Let's choose this one over here. And the same way we made the starburst is the same way you want to paint over it. So you just want to draw your little X line to give you an area to know what you're going to be painting and blocking in. See, and I'm taking my time here because I want to cover all of the lines. So there's my little crosshairs, if you will. Now I start the feathering process. And I very slowly and very carefully pull lines back into themselves to make my starburst. Some white can show through. If you don't want any white to show through, then methodically take your time and go over all of that white. Let some of it feather off. Remember, it's a starburst, so you can't control it. It's impossible. It's nature's force, an explosion, and you can't really control it, so don't try to be too controlling. Just kind of cover it and let it be. Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. Yeah, there you go. And those are some words of wisdoms. And now, you see that? That white starburst is now what color? Red. And it looks very attractive. Now let's clean off our brush. If to ring the bell when I tap it from side to side, it helps knock off some of the color. Now let's pick up a little blue. Yep, the same blue we used to make the background with the white and everything. Now we're going to use that blue on top of this white to have a blue starburst. And you don't think it's going to show? Well, it is. It is. It's the magic. I don't even want to call it the magic. That's just art. That's just the way it works. You know, there's no magic in this. It's just the way it is. Colors lay over top of colors, and even the same color now looks different on top of itself because we put that white base underneath. And now we're just glazing over it with blue, and it's turning blue for us, but it's blue that's standing up and standing out, as you can see, against its own color background. See? Nice, right? Told you this was easy. And you're learning things, believe it or not. The one thing about a peel-off painting is it may be basically simple, but you learn things while you're doing this. You learn things that you could apply to other forms of painting, to especially watercolor and even oil. So don't let the simplicity of the project fool you, because there's a lesson in everything. It's what you take out of it that's really important. So now we have our blue starburst. And after I've jabber-jawed and talked up enough, you can rest assured that those other two that are open for us, because remember, we're not touching the torch, they're ready to receive that yellow. And this is the magic. This is when you know you've done the right thing. When you apply this yellow to this white starburst and it doesn't turn green, well, give yourself a pat on the back. You've succeeded. You've done something that a lot of people are going to look at and go, how did they get that yellow on that blue? It's impossible. That yellow would automatically turn green no matter if it was dry. And that's true. But what they don't know and probably don't see, because you've made it so that their eyes aren't focused on one thing, is that you put white underneath. And now you're covering that white. And that's what they miss. That layer that you did, that little technique that you just learned today as far as layering goes. You know, there used to be artists back in the day, and I kind of paint like this too, where they use an underpainting to just set up their work, to get all of the shadows in and the look in and the shapes in. And they would underpaint it and then come back and go over the underpainting to give off the coloration and values that they want to be in the painting for true. Not for real, but for true. There. So now we have our bright 2 yellow starbursts. We have our red starburst. We have our blue starburst. Now I'm going to show you the last hint, trick, tip of the day. And that's how to make your starburst have a little extra pop. And that comes with drawing little lines of bursts with white on all of them. And as I'm painting it, you just watch what I'm doing, because I'm going to be doing the same thing to each one of them. And I'm going to tell you why that actually works. When you have so many colors and layering of colors in any painting, people get totally engulfed in those little details. Those details are so vivid to them, they don't know why they see what you want them to see. But you do. They do. Because you're directing their eye. You're saying to them, that's not just a blue shape. That's a starburst, like a firework. So you see how I'm leaving the center open almost like a flower? And I'm painting lines that are little and long, all inside and around that burst. It's to help make it look like it's exploding. It's almost like you're painting a story. You're using the paint to tell them what it is they're looking at without saying a word. It's all about shape, form, value, composition, which is where we didn't leave the negative space. And while these are really big words for art enthusiasts or, people who want to evaluate art, it's the truth. That's exactly what they are. You're directing them to believe that those lines somehow form an explosion. And because of your little subtle line details, no matter how straight they are, crooked they are, you just do them like this, and I guarantee when people look at it, they're going to automatically feel and say, those are fireworks. No question about it. And that's what you want the brain to connect with. That's what made some of these artists masters, because they were masters of the overall illusion. That's what they did. If you ever look at a Monet painting up close, it looks like blah. Up close. Just go to the museum, walk up as close as you can to a Monet painting and just look at it, and it looks like blah. But step back. Step back about 3 to 5, maybe 6 feet. And then look at a Monet painting, and you have all of the wonders of a lake or river with lily pads and all kind of flowers. But again, walk back up on it, you're like, this is nothing. I could do this. or Seurat. Seurat did a lot of dots, a lot of pointillism. You look at that up close, it doesn't make sense. You step back, you see people laying in the grass, having fun with umbrellas. It's the illusion. So now we're going to do our quick peel. And before I do, I have this black. There's a little opening here. I'm just going to close it. So if you have that opening on yours, just close it with a little black paint. It'll make sense in a second. Because now our painting is 100% finished. There's really nothing more I could do to this painting except remove the peel. So let's remove the peel and let's see what we have. Let's see if I was right. And with the peel, you want to grab the spatula at the neck. You don't want to hold it down at the base like a spoon, like you really eat like a person with some manners or some sense. You want to grab it like a caveman or woman right in the neck, because you want to flip those edges. And you just want to get underneath there and get anything to peel up. And once you get anything to peel up, you can stop, because the rest is history. You peel up. Ta-da! How's that? How cool is that? You see what I mean? How cool is that painting? Simple, easy, few colors, a lot of talking, some techniques. You learn some new words. You learn some styles of how to kind of give the mind a little challenge. You got your glow around her torch. You got your explosion within your fireworks. You made yellow stand out on blue. Even that by itself is an accomplishment. So on that note, I want to thank you all for allowing me to come and paint with you. I enjoy this. This is what I love. I hope you enjoyed it too. And if you want to see more of these videos, subscribe to our YouTube channel, J. Robinson Art. And you'll see a lot. Just subscribe and you'll get like the first shots of when I make new videos. And you could always go to Peiloff.com or jrobinsonart.com and see the huge variety of different paint and peel projects that we have. Our kits come with everything that you need. And if you ever have any problems, you can contact us and we'll be more than happy to help you. And on that note, thank you. Have a great day. Bye-bye.